Are we ready to go live? Are we ready to go? Are we ready to go?
We are live.
Hello. Okay. I am there. It's my best. See you. Okay. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Thank you. So good morning and welcome to those of you in our sanctuary and of course to those of you who are joining us online. My name is Sandra Murphy and I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Flint, a progressive LGBTQINA+ affirming religious community in which people are encouraged to be themselves and where we embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. If you'd like to learn more information about our faith tradition or this congregation, please feel free to talk with one of our ministers today, or you can find their contact information at uuflint.org. Visitors are especially invited to attend coffee hour downstairs today after the service and speak to any one of us about our congregation and our faith tradition. You can also sign up for our weekly email newsletter by visiting our website or scanning the QR code on the order of service or by completing this card, which is in the seat back. You can leave it in the basket at the back of the sanctuary. You can look at your order of service for important announcements, but I'm going to, of course, embellish on some of them. So we want you to silence your phone, of course, but also consider going to our YouTube channel and pulling up the service. Then like us by clicking on the thumbs up icon. These things make it more likely that people will bump into our YouTube channel and decide to join us maybe someday in this actual place. Last night, I'm waiting for the slide. Okay, last night, full house, Mother's Retreat. Yeah, right. A good time was had by all, is putting it mildly. I can't name everybody, but from the ticket takers, the raffle person, all of the volunteers that brought food, wine, sangria, set up the tables, everybody who helped with the cleanup and the camaraderie in this building, and of course our queen, Terry Cross. Yay! Yay! Well done. Well done, well done. We want to remind you that next Saturday, April 5th, our congregation will host a Grieving for Our Government vigil and town hall meeting. Our gathering is for everyone who's concerned about what is currently happening in Washington, D.C. It starts at 2:00, and a staff member from the Office of U.S. Congressional Representative Kristen McDonald-Rivet will be here to answer questions and suggest a course of action. You can help us advertise this important meeting by taking flyers from the table at the back and posting them. You can also post this on social media. Just talk to people and invite them to come. That's usually the way that gets people here, your personal invitation. And if you say, I'm going to be there, I'll sit with you, that's golden. Our 2025-26 canvas is in its final week, and we have held all of our house gatherings. I'm very appreciative of everyone who stepped up. Everyone is listed in the e-update and on the back of the order of service. Our theme, rooted in love, justice, and reason, was ever present in every one of the conversations that I facilitated. There will be more on these conversations shared with you in the upcoming months. In the meantime, please return your pledge form by April 6th. Let me say that again. Please return your pledge form by April 6th. Or after that, you'll hear from me. Just saying. Just saying. Remember to put Tales and Tunes, April 11th at 6 p.m. on your calendar. Today's the last day to make donations of items for the silent auction. Please come and enjoy the live music of Pia Williams, storytelling. It's always crazy. You never know what we're going to get. The fun, the food, and invite your friends and family. Our ministers, the Reverend Lynn and Jerry Kerr, will speak at this year's Genesee County Interfaith Breakfast on April 24th. The breakfast is sponsored by Gift of Life, Michigan. See your e-update to learn how to register. And late breaking news of an announcement, we are looking for delegates for the GA Assembly. That can be either in person or virtual. To celebrate the fullness of life and by our actions to increase goodness and justice.
And the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments, where words come from the depths of truth, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Into that heaven of freedom, let our country awake.
Stand if you feel like it. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving,
After our words of meditation and silence, you are invited to light candles of joy or concern up front or in the back. And you may also write in the book in the back as well, and those joys or concerns will be printed in our weekly newsletter. Our words for meditation this morning are those of the Lakota Sioux holy man, Black Elk. The first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. Amen. Blessed be.
Our reading this morning is from a book by Christopher Hitchens entitled God is Not Great. Hitchens was one of the most famous activists among many others who brought about the slow demise of conservative Orthodox Christianity. Hitchens, perhaps the most ardent critic of the Bible of our times, nevertheless chose a verse from the Bible to honor his father, a verse that was almost certainly written by the Apostle Paul as he sat in a Roman dungeon for his faith. Perhaps prison squeezed out of Paul a universal sentiment that spoke to Hitchens and to us as well.
All right, I'm going to sing a song that Jerry asked me to sing, and I'm going to sing as many or as few verses as I feel like it. I was born under a wandering star. I was born under a wandering star. Wheels are made for rolling, mules are made to pack. I've never seen a sight that didn't look better looking back. I was born under a wandering star. Now mud can make you prisoner, plains can bake you dry. Snow can burn your eyes, but only people make you cry. Home is made for coming from, with dreams of going to, which with any luck will never come star.
Here's number one. We will proceed. Yeah. See, this is the advantages of being here in person. The technical problems are fewer if you're not seated at home on the couch. I think it's safe to say that many of us here once earned our bread working at a job that is no more. To earn mine, I used to develop a strip of plastic called film that was coated with silver that came out of a camera. I developed the film and made photographic prints by shining a light through that piece of film. And, well, most of you know this, and the rest of you don't care or need to care because it's history now. Coal miners, match girls, whaling harpooneers, and thousands of other once vital occupations are likewise now history. The needs of the time obviously dictate the work that is needed and valued. So, whose job is next to go away? Perhaps jobs that are not only technologically obsolete, but are theologically obsolete as well. Well, churches are closing everywhere. You see them as you drive down the road. Churches turned into gift shops, breweries, and bookstores. And millions of Americans are claiming they have no religion and now doubt the formula they were given to them to get saved and to get into heaven. And this formula, propagated by the local minister, of course, now tastes so bad that the minister is often seen as a medicine show fraud. I guess we should ask if the job of minister, priest, pastor is going the way of the village lamplighter. Of course, I realize you might logically assume that after some careful thought, Jerry is going to determine that planet Earth will always need ministers. But please hear me out. Perhaps stories of successful ministers from history might hold the answer to our questions. And Richard Allen was very successful. That was a picture of Richard Allen you saw there a moment ago. Yeah, here we go. Allen was born into the life of a slave in 1760, Pennsylvania. By the time he was 20, he was a minister, obsessed with helping people find the answer to life's most pressing questions, including how to get saved. Many of us today have questions about life and death and how we are to be with one another and with the planet. I think that can be another way of asking, how do we get saved? Most Americans have never heard of Richard Allen unless they are members of the AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church. And that is unfortunate because he met the needs of his time. As a young man, he was haunted by what he called the burden of his sinfulness. And he wrote, "One night I thought hell would be my portion. I was tempted to believe there was no mercy for me." But luckily, several months earlier, he had heard a white Methodist circuit-riding preacher rail against slavery, and that thought was still with him. On this night, he said he prayed unto him who delighteth to hear the prayers of a poor sinner, and all of a sudden, my dungeon shook and my chains fell off. Now, this was early in American history. It would be another 100 years before slavery ended in our country. But a Methodist preacher had told Richard Allen that God did not condone slavery. In that day, ministers who said such things were frequently put into jail. And please note, the minister was using the same Bible used by other ministers who said the Bible showed slavery was God's plan. But Richard Allen heard what he needed to hear and was set free by it. And the message came from an everyday, card-carrying Methodist minister who used his reasoning to discern that the Bible's message was about freedom for the captive, not enslavement for the foreigner. That shook Allen's dungeon and freed him from his chains. He now went everywhere, telling people what he had experienced. He wrote, "I was constrained to go from house to house, exhorting my old companions." One day he talked his unconverted master into listening to some Methodist preachers do their thing, and he soon became a Christian, the kind that didn't believe in slavery. So his master decided to let Allen buy his freedom if he could earn the money. Richard Allen started cutting wood for part of every day. Then he went to work in a brickyard for another part of the day. Then, when he was done with all the paid labor, he went home to do his slave labor on the farm. After 4 years of work, Richard Allen had the money and became a free man, paying $2,000, that's $37,000 in today's money, to buy himself. Now he was free. So what did he do? He became a circuit-riding Methodist minister in Delaware and New Jersey. He was evidently very good because the main Methodist man in America, Francis Asbury, rode with him, befriended him, and asked Allen to ride with him on a big preaching circuit westward into Pennsylvania. Evidently, Richard Allen said something like, "Are you kidding? A black man could get killed out there." He was right, of course. So-called free blacks had some freedom, but they were treated horribly, especially on the frontier. For this group before me today, I feel it's necessary to do a hard sell to convince you that the job of a minister is a real job. I frequently do this pep talk for myself, too. Things are just that bad today for former film processors and ministers. The word minister means to serve. Some religious professionals call themselves pastors, which means they believe they are like a shepherd taking care of sheep. Lynn and I have never met a UU who thinks of theirself as a sheep, especially as a sheep that can be easily herded. So we stick with the title minister. This stole is a symbol addressed to the wearer, me, that says, take the job seriously or you will feel really silly wearing such a thing. It's not a sign of authority, but rather a sign that the one who wears it is a true believer and thinks the message of their tradition is somehow saving. The job description for the perfect minister is a bit daunting. Here is one version that is a bit dated, but it's still basically accurate. The perfect minister preaches for exactly 10 minutes, not longer. I missed that one already. The perfect minister condemns sin roundly, but never hurts anyone's feelings. She is 29 years old, but has 40 years of experience. He works from 8 a.m. until midnight, makes $40 a week, wears good clothes, drives a good car, and donates $30 a week to the church. He, she, or they make 15 home visits a day, but still has time to make every Sunday service look like Gone with the Wind. The perfect minister has a burning desire to work with teenagers and spends most of their time with senior citizens. And finally, the spouse, partner, wife, husband, whatever, of a perfect minister, even if they are a co-minister, bakes and serves homemade cookies every Sunday morning. The list is just good fun, of course, but a serious list for today, when the job of minister is threatened, even if their cookies are good, that list is very different from that of just 40, especially 50 years ago. Back then, such lists assumed all ministers him until his last hour. He discovered that the Apostle Paul, evidently at his best while in a Roman dungeon, wrote a heartfelt prayer and salutation, but it was not about the nature of a deity or about his presumed only son, Jesus of Nazareth. Paul's goodbye prayer in the book of Philippians was about how we should find whatever is true, whatever is honest, whatever is just and pure and lovely and of good report. And if there is any virtue or praise for them, think on those things. What a list that is. And it's apparent that Paul, one of the first ministers in Christendom, ministered across 2,000 years to Christopher Hitchens, a man determined to bring down Christianity. And Paul didn't do that with speculations about a God on high, but by telling people to seek the truth themselves, whatsoever it may be. That abolitionist Methodist minister who saved Richard Allen, he did the same thing, really. From his not very lofty, but respected position as a minister in the 18th century, he said that the truth was slavery should not exist. That was not a widely accepted or popular truth in his day, but it was a truth that set Allen on the path of serving others and changing the world. Another minister that many of us never think of as a minister was Black Elk, who also brought change because his people were also in trouble, being disrespected, even forgotten. In the culture of the Oglala Lakota people, he was known as a holy man or a medicine man, and only a history of religion's PhD candidate would try to argue that he wasn't a minister. It's an archetypal energy embodied in a person who does theology while baking cookies. He was born in 1863 and named Hihakasapa, Black Elk, and he was a second cousin of the war leader Crazy Horse and fought with him in the Battle of the Little Bighorn. He was there when a soldier murdered Crazy Horse. He toured and performed in Europe as part of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show because he wanted to figure out the white man, and he survived the Wounded Knee Massacre. In other words, towering tree to shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And he said, I saw it was holy. And here's what I believe is the saving part. He said, the center of the world where I found myself was at Harney Peak, South Dakota. But I knew in my vision that the center of the world was everywhere. Or we might say, everyone is equal. No one is to be enslaved. And Jerusalem is no holier than Black Elk's Peak in South Dakota. In 1932, a poet and writer asked Black Elk to tell his story, and that is a now famous book entitled Black Elk Speaks. The words of Black Elk helped inspire the 20th century revival of Native American culture. His words aided the American indigenous people's human rights struggle, initiated in the 1960s and continuing into the present. There was his book, and books on Zen, and books on the other religions of Asia, books on paganism, and books showing the abuses of Orthodox Christianity, lots and lots of books. And then suddenly, many Christian churches across America became quaint restaurants and bars, and people stopped trying to become a minister. This thing called religion is changing quickly. And if churches want to live and ministers want to minister, they need to change too. So when you read the stories of Richard Allen and Black Elk, you realize they served the people of their time with something that in many ways saved them. The list of the many ministers that did likewise is, of course, much too long to read here. But it includes people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who defied Hitler, John Hayne Holmes, who introduced Gandhi and nonviolence to America, and Olympia Brown, who fought for voting rights for women, and many, many more, of course. And they all served people with their ideas that then, when they became realities, freed and in many ways saved people. In 1886, Richard Allen became a minister at St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia. He was trying to stay within the Methodist Church because he believed he could best end slavery that way. But he was restricted to speaking at the early morning services. So he also preached his message on the commons at 5 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m., often preaching 4 or 5 times a day. He attracted more and more black congregants, so the church vestry could not find places for them to be segregated away from the best seats reserved for white people, many of whom, however, did not support that kind of segregation. In 1787, some black members of the church were kneeling in prayer right where they had been instructed to kneel. But during the service, one of the white trustees interrupted their prayers, telling them they had to move from where they had been directed to sit. "You must get up," the trustee said. "You must not kneel here." "Wait until prayer is over," Allen's friend, Ebson Jones, said. "No, you must get up now, or I will call for aid and force you away." "Wait until prayer is over," Jones said, "and I will get up and trouble you no more." The incident ended with the trustee forcibly removing their praying brothers. Can you imagine the indignity of that moment? It was another making Martin Luther King go to the back of the bus moment. Justice would be delayed, but it would come. Allen and the other black members of St. George Church walked out of its doors that morning and formed the African Methodist Episcopal Church, where it gave nerve and hope to millions of slaves when they heard the stories of the Allenites. Black Elk also went on to serve his people and the world with his message that we are all one. And he did it, oddly enough, by becoming a Catholic. At the age of 43, he was christened Nicholas Black Elk. He became a catechist, converting other Lakota Sioux to Catholicism, and now the Catholic Church calls him a servant of God, which means he is up for canonization as a saint. Now I'm guessing, that many of you are thinking, what a bummer. Our hero of Native American spirituality, which is really neat and cool and meaningful, that guy became a Catholic, a Christian faith in part responsible for the death and degradation of millions of Native Americans. Say it isn't so. It's okay, though. Stop and think. Black Elk was a Universalist through and through, and for much of his life prayed with rosary beads in one hand and his sacred pipe in the other. He found universal elements of truth in Catholicism, and that is what his vision was all about. He saw that we are all in the same sacred circle, under the one sheltering tree, children of the same mother and father, and he saw it was holy. One of Black Elk's many biographers said it best. Nick didn't see any reason to disconnect from his vision life after converting to Catholicism. Was Black Elk a true Lakota holy man in the second half of his life? Yes. Was he also a real Christian? Yes. Richard Allen and Nicholas Black Elk served humanity by testing the rules of their religions and of the people of their day to find a truth that saves. Both cherished their traditions, but they found the best in them and gave that to the world. We, all of us, must do likewise. And if we do, I believe ministers will be a part of the future. You can't get rid of them even if you wanted to. Luckily, Our church's credo describes the educated needed for both ministers and the congregants who support them. Love, justice, reason, in faith. Let us think on these things. Thank you.
Now, when we get to the part that says people have the power, please sing along with us because it's all of us that have the power.
All the verses?
All of us. I was dreaming in my dreaming, oh, of an aspect bright and fair, and my sleeping, it was broken, but my dream, it lingered near, in the form of shining valleys, where the pure air rarefied, and my senses newly open, I awakened to the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools upon the meek, the grace of showers. It's decreed, the people rule. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Believe it. Vengeful aspects became suspect and bending low as if to hear, and the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear, and the shepherds and the soldiers, well, they lay beneath the stars, exchanging visions and laying arms to waste in the dust, in the form of shining valleys where the pure air rarefied, and my senses newly open, I awaken to the cry. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Where there were deserts, I saw fountains, like streams, the waters rise, and we strolled there together, with none to laugh or criticize, and the leopard and the lamb lay together, truly bound. I was hoping, in my hoping, to recall what I had found. I was dreaming, my dreaming, God knows, of your view. As I surrender into my sleeping, I commend my dream to you. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power to dream. People have the power to vote. People have the power to strike. People have the power to love. People have the power. voice.
All right, then. I have to get my wits about me to do this. Thank you for that. Okay. Yes. So, rooted in love, justice, and reason is our theme for this year's canvas. Our intent by using these words was to remind us of a long history or roots we have in this Unitarian Universalist community. We strive to demonstrate through our Sunday services, our volunteerism, and our financial support, our love and commitment to justice, all through the lens of reason. When we pledge financial support for this community, we are putting a stake in the ground of love, justice, and reason. So for those of you who've made your 25-26 pledge, thank you. For those of you yet considering, that's great. We're here, the ministers and myself, to assist you with any questions or wonderings you might have about that pledge. For those who are just not comfortable making a pledge, for whatever reason, we encourage you to continue your support by placing your offering in the basket at the back of the sanctuary or making a gift online at uuflint.org. So last night, as I was here listening to the music, there was one song in particular that I found myself sort of revisiting when I went home. Googled it, of course. That's what we do. And I'm going to share a few lyrics from that in closing. Ours is a simple faith. Life is a short embrace. Heaven is in this place every day. Hope is the ground we till. Make each day what you will. Thankful for dreams fulfilled every day. Trust is an open hand, making an honest stand, rooted here in the land every day.
Finally, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things.
And let us extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together.